It is June 20th, and you are watching Denver7 On Demand. Tonight, we're learning more about the fatal shooting at STEM School Highlands Ranch. Newly released documents detail the alleged shooter's actions on the day of the shooting. Plus, the name of one of Denver's most well-known neighborhoods now under scrutiny over its ties to the KKK. We go 360 on whether Stapleton should be renamed. And a Colorado concierge inside a statewide effort at hospitality toward a growing number of visitors. New tonight, new court documents released early this evening indicate revenge may be behind the STEM school shooting in Highlands Ranch. In an arrest affidavit, suspect Devin Erickson provides an account of the alleged shooter's actions that day and claims he was coerced into going along with the plan by the juvenile suspect. Kendrick Castillo died in the shooting. 8 others were injured. Denver 7's Jace Larson has been digging through these newly released documents.
And these documents paint a picture of the younger suspect, 16-year-old Maya McKinney, as being the one who orchestrated the whole thing, telling an accomplice, 18-year-old Devin Erickson, that he would be killed if he didn't help with this plan. All of this is at least according to the documents that were just released and are based only on an interview with Erickson after the shooting. Erickson claimed they both did cocaine before the shooting and that McKinney threatened him with an axe if he didn't open up his parents' gun safe. Erickson said he complied since he didn't have a key to get the guns. Court documents say that Erickson told deputies Maya also told Devin that he was super suicidal and that he wanted to get revenge on a lot of people. Maya stated he was considering killing his mom and siblings as well. Devin tried talking Maya out of doing that. Maya told Devin he was going to kill him if he told anyone. When the two got to school, Erickson thought about telling someone, the court documents say, but he never did. Court documents also confirm that the younger suspect was born a woman, but said that he was transitioning to a man and wanted to be referred to as a man. Now, there is more new information that we learned. During the school shooting, a deputy said that a school security officer fired at her. One of the security guard's bullets did hit someone in one of the classrooms. Ann?
Lakewood police are still looking for parents involved in a massive fight at a youth baseball game. We've learned at least 2 of the people cited for that fight are coaches, and they are due in court with 3 parents next month. A 56-year-old man cited in the brawl told police he broke 5 ribs during the altercation. We've also learned that 2 people in the video are Denver Public Works employees, and both have been placed on leave tonight. If those employees are found to have been involved, it would fall under Denver's violence in the city workplace policy. It applies to them whether they were working or not, and they could be disciplined or even fired. Meanwhile, umpire organizations say rowdy behavior from parents is becoming a fact of life for them.
Harassed, threatened, chased to the parking lot.
We had to call the police at our baseball field because we had parents throwing baseballs at the umpires.
They've had those situations as well in the upper level where they tell you don't leave the arena, we'll walk you to your cars.
The commuter rail line to Boulder and Longmont, also known as the B line, has been delayed yet again. When completed, the B line or Northwest line will run from Union Station to Longmont. Right now it runs to Westminster. And now RTD says the route will not be completed until 2050 unless more money becomes available. Taxpayers have been paying for Fast Track since it was approved in 2004, and they're not happy with more delays.
It definitely makes people feel like their vote isn't being heard.
Just unacceptable that they've had to, continue to pay the tax and not really feel like they've gotten much reward for it.
Among the scenarios RTD is considering, seeking more bonding authority, a tax increase, enhanced parking fees, even selling the air rights over their properties. The board will discuss some of those scenarios at their next board meeting. Is it just a name or an ugly piece of Colorado history? The ballots are in the mail, and soon Stapleton residents will vote on whether to keep or drop the name of one of Denver's well-recognized neighborhoods. Stapleton is named after former Mayor Benjamin Stapleton, who was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Denver 7's Russell Haythorne takes us 360, asking neighbors how they feel.
It's an area of town everyone is familiar with. Once Denver's international airport, and now one of its most popular neighborhoods.
I moved to Stapleton because you do know your neighbors. It's just a good area.
And its name is everywhere. But what's in the name Stapleton? That depends on who you ask.
I like the name Stapleton. I don't like the history.
We need to have a discussion about this.
We're going 360 with the debate starting with what's happening this week. Ballots are going out and voters will decide.
Should we retain Stapleton as the name of the community?
The debate has raged on for months, even years, and many argue it's a name that has to go.
It's not just the climate of the past. We today are living the legacy of white supremacy and white privilege.
But Pelé Gambrell grew up in Denver.
I grew up like Montbello and Cherry Creek.
And she's now raising a family of her own in Stapleton. She says the name is just a name.
I don't see why we need to change it, because no one knew that. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't even know it was named after him.
Sarah Pincus, who founded the Stapleton Moms Group online, agrees. Pincus says keeping the name is not an endorsement of the KKK or Mayor Benjamin Stapleton's past actions.
I don't think anyone in the neighborhood endorses or believes in any of the stuff that he stood for. But I do think Stapleton is so well established now that to change the name is kind of silly.
That name change will cost residents here, and the second question on the ballot asks if there should be a special assessment to pay for that name change. Many say it's worth it.
And I do appreciate, businesses and the costs and so forth, but it's bigger than that. It's about who we are as a community.
And still others say, if we do this, where does it end? Both Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, for example, were slave owners.
Do we start worrying about other things? Do we start changing the name of Jefferson County? Do we worry about changing Washington State, Washington, D.C.?
It's now up to Stapleton residents to decide. The community association rules allow for just one vote per household.
We're really hoping to get as many of our residents to return ballots as possible so we get a high turnout.
Ballots must be returned by July 31st. In Stapleton, Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
Tomorrow, the Colorado community says goodbye to fallen Colorado State Trooper William Modane. He died in the line of duty 6 days ago, hit and killed on I-70 while helping 2 other crash victims near Deer Trail. Tomorrow, he will be laid to rest. Everyone is invited to line the streets for his funeral procession, which begins at 9 a.m. Jason Luber has details on the procession route and how it might impact your morning commute.
You can expect significant traffic delays, especially on I-25 and on Hampden and all the roads crossing Hampden for the funeral procession that will start tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock from right here around the wall, about the Walmart on Hampden, right off of Yosemite. But first, they're going to have to close down all southbound lanes of Havana here at Dartmouth. That traffic will be detoured over to Parker Road and this section of Hampden. Both directions between there all the way to I-25 will be closed down as that procession works its way over to I-25. Speaking of I-25, all the ramps coming off of I-25 to Hampden will be closing down at 9:20. It will remain that way until the procession finishes after about 11 o'clock over by the church, and that means this section of Hampden from I-25 all the way to University will be closed from 9:30 till about 11 o'clock. All roads should reopen by about 11 in the morning, and you can expect extra traffic after the service is over, sometime after 1 o'clock, but there won't be any closures after that point. I'm Jason Luber, Denver 7.
If you want to pay your respects, CSP asks you to park on a side street and walk to the procession route instead of parking along the route itself. The funeral starts at 11. It's also open to the public, but space is limited. And Denver 7 will have live coverage of Trooper Modane's memorial on air, online, and on the Denver 7 app on your streaming device. Tomorrow is the first official day of summer, but the Arapahoe Basin Ski Resort may not have gotten the memo. A-Basin announced today it is extending ski season another weekend from June 28th through the 30th and hasn't even ruled out opening again for the 4th of July. The resort says cooler weather and more snow in the forecast for the mountains made another extension possible. Lifts will be open for the usual extension weekend hours, 8:30 to 2:30. And A-Basin says it hopes to celebrate Independence Day on the slopes, but no decision has been made just yet. The last time A-Basin was open for the 4th of July was in 2011.
I'm meteorologist Stacey Donaldson, and boy, we had a nice warm afternoon as we finally quieted down the severe weather across the Front Range, a few isolated storms. But as we head through the rest of tonight, we'll see partly cloudy skies, temperatures in the 60s even as we head toward midnight. Our official overnight lows will be in the 50s this evening, but as you see those lows by tomorrow morning, they'll still be pretty comfortable. 56 downtown, 51 in Parker and Castle Rock, Elizabeth at 54, and mostly 50s here across the eastern plains. Up into the higher elevations conditions. Temperatures will mostly be in the 40s through the overnight with partly cloudy skies. Now, we do have some big changes headed our way. First alert action day as we head into the weekend with a threat for severe weather.
Tensions are at an all-time high as Iran reportedly shot down a U.S. Air Force drone. You're looking at video from the Iranian military. They say this is the missile that shot down the drone. They say the U.S. was flying it in Iranian airspace. Now, the Pentagon is claiming that the drone was not in Iran's airspace. The Trump administration decided earlier this week to send 1,000 troops to the Middle East. This comes after the U.S. blamed Iran for last week's attack on 2 oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman.
We have to be strong and strategic about how we protect our interests. We also cannot be reckless in what we do.
I would encourage forceful action to stop this behavior.
Iran is telling the world body that the U.S. is, quote, very dangerous and conducted a provocative act. The ambassador from Iran is urging the international community to demand that the U.S. withdraw from the region. President Trump, of course, says the U.S. is not going anywhere. Missouri could become the first state in the country without an abortion provider. The state's only abortion clinic, Planned Parenthood of St. Louis, is pushing back on a requirement it calls invasive and traumatizing for patients. The state of Missouri says women who want a surgical abortion should have a pelvic exam 3 days before and on the day of the procedure. Planned Parenthood says that first one is unnecessary and they won't be doing it anymore. This Friday, they're heading back to court to face the state over the clinic's license renewal. If it's not renewed, Missouri would be left without a single abortion provider. A small group of U.S. senators has received an official briefing on UFOs. This is video from 2017 when several pilots say they had multiple encounters with unidentified aircraft with no visible engine or exhaust plumes. Today, senators got a classified briefing about these encounters. The Navy called those objects a security risk and safety hazard, though one Navy official said he doesn't believe it was aliens. Back in April, the Navy introduced guidelines for its pilots to report unexplainable events so the military can keep track of what may or may not be happening. Still ahead, a test of a new school model for teaching. The school district counting on teaching kids more by having them in class less.